nutrition. We chose nutrition because most of you know it's tough to find good information out there. I mean, you can, from various sources, you just find all types of conflicting things. So we figured, where can we go to get, the best scientifically proven information on everything, on what you should be eating, how much, what's in the food, things like that. And we actually found a great guy. So in trying to find out correct nutrition advice, we came across Dr. Walter Willett. Let me just give you an example of how smart these people really are that we're going to be talking to. He's not only an MD, he's also a Dr. PH, which is Doctor of Public Health. He is a professor of epidemiology, nutrition, and medicine at Harvard University. He also is the chair of the Department of Nutrition at Harvard. He's published over 1,000 scientific articles regarding various aspects of diet and disease, and he's the second most cited author in clinical medicine, which I thought was actually really interesting.
I'm Walter Willett, and I'm chair of the Department of Nutrition at Harvard School of Public Health. Clearly, milk has a very important biological function. It's really meant to make young mammals grow fast, and therefore it's loaded with a lot of essential nutrients and also growth-promoting hormones. And it is important to grow fast when you're between the ages of 1 and 2 and maybe 3. But for later years in life, growing fast has in general been related to higher risk of cancer, many cancers, and therefore it's not natural that people are drinking milk in large amounts during the teenage years and later years, and it could well have some adverse consequences. I think the assumption that milk in high amounts is safe is a very dangerous assumption. The role of calcium and dairy products in nutrition and health. And there has been, of course, a recommendation that we should be consuming 3 servings of dairy products a day. That's actually a very radical recommendation because it would about double dairy product consumption in the United States if everyone followed that guideline. And it's also very radical if we look over time and history. In fact, if we look around the world, the vast majority of adults do not consume dairy products on a regular basis at all. And it had been thought that, even if there's not much benefit from all that dairy consumption, it's not harmful. But as we've started to look into this in more detail, the evidence is now strong that high dairy consumption will increase the risk of fatal prostate cancer and very possibly ovarian cancer. We've actually found quite strong suggestions that high dairy consumption may be related to risk of prostate cancer. In fact, many studies have found that people who drink more dairy products have higher risk of prostate cancer. We're not sure exactly why, but we do know definitely that milk increases a hormone in the blood called insulin-like growth factor that makes cells multiply faster, and high levels of insulin-like growth factor have been related to prostate cancer and colon cancer and breast cancer as well. We don't need all of that milk, and there could actually be some adverse effects. This is looking at prostate cancer, a study done quite a while ago, but we've reproduced it in our own data, that looking at fatal prostate cancer with 3 or more glasses of milk a day, and more than doubling of risk of fatal prostate cancer. And so that's held up across a lot of studies as well. Now, it's even possible that there may be some adverse consequences of this high milk consumption. And one of the things that high milk consumption does is increase our blood levels of insulin-like growth factor, which is related to several different cancers. And some years ago, the Seventh-day Adventist study published results showing a 2.4-fold increase in risk of fatal prostate cancer with 3 or more servings or 3 or more glasses of milk per day. And that's been seen in quite a few studies now. So there's a lot of evidence, not absolute conclusive evidence, but very strong suggestion that high dairy consumption is related to specifically fatal cancer, prostate cancer, and maybe some other cancers as well. And it does seem it's possible to have too much milk consumption. This is from A study conducted some years ago, but it's been confirmed in more recent data as well. There is quite a consistent body of evidence showing that 3 or more servings of dairy, milk in particular, per day is related to higher risk of fatal prostate cancer. So in modest amounts, dairy products are fine, but it looks like too much actually can have some problems associated with that. One of the other possible links between milk consumption and breast cancer is that milk contains many hormones that accelerate our growth. It may be why women in Holland are among the tallest in the world, in fact. But that rapid growth during the adolescent years does seem to be clearly related to future breast cancer risk. For example, there was a recent large study done from Denmark and that showed that the rate of growth during the time between 10 and 14 years of age was strongly related to future risk of breast cancer. So it may well be that those growth-promoting hormones in milk are helping actually. One of the first slides I showed you, there was a strong belief that fat in the diet was the major cause of breast cancer. This was right at the core of dietary recommendations. And so we've looked at that repeatedly over time. This is after 20 years of follow-up in the Nurses' Health Study. We have many repeated measures of fat intake, and we're focusing on postmenopausal women here because it was believed that that's where the relation between fat and breast cancer was the strongest. Over 3,500 women had developed breast cancer during this period of time. And as you can see, there's absolutely no relationship over a very wide range of fat intake and risk of breast cancer. And this has been replicated in many studies around the world now. That is not the explanation for the high rates of breast cancer that we have. Now, as I mentioned, in Nurses' Health Study 2, we're looking at earlier life diet. And here we have seen somewhat different relationships. There, vegetable fat is not related to risk of breast cancer, but animal fat is, which suggests that it's not fat per se, but there may be something else in some of these products like red meat and high dairy fat intake that may be related to breast cancer.